MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Thursday morning. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. We begin in Billings this morning, where a man is in the hospital with serious injuries after being shot near the airport. The shooting happened around midnight. Police say the victim was a 38-year-old man. They are looking for a suspect and the investigation continues. Additional details about the victim's injuries or description of the suspect have not been released. Turning now to the latest on the pandemic, the Food and Drug Administration has granted emergency use authorization for COVID-19 booster shots for older adults and others with high risk factors. The CDC is now developing specific guidelines on who's going to be eligible for a third dose and when they'll be available. CBS's Tina Kraus has more.
The FDA last night authorized expanded access to booster shots of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. The decision would apply to people aged 65 and up, as well as those with weakened immune systems. The agency also said a third dose should be offered to adults whose job or living situation frequently exposes them to the virus. In a tweet, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki called the announcement a major step forward. It's now up to the CDC to decide how and when the booster shots will be distributed. An advisory committee's vote on that could happen this week.
To beat the pandemic here, we need to beat it everywhere.
During a virtual pandemic summit convened by the White House, President Biden stressed the importance of getting more of the world its first vaccine shots.
The United States is buying another 500 million doses of Pfizer to donate to low and middle income countries around the world.
That brings the U.S. pledge to 1 billion doses it plans to give away. Critics say that's not enough.
You can imagine our disappointment to be at an assembly like this, rubbing shoulders with nations that are now administering booster shots, while most of our people have yet to get their first one.
In a video played at the UN General Assembly, Malawi's president said the developing world is being victimized by what he called vaccine nationalism. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
The FDA is still waiting for more data from Moderna and Johnson & Johnson before authorizing their boosters, which is expected to happen in the next few weeks. Here in Yellowstone County, 22 people have died from COVID-19 in the past 22 days. The total number of deaths here since the pandemic started is now more than 320. On the national scale, deaths from COVID-19 have reached a daily average of more than 1,900. It's a peak since early March and comes as hospital systems fear a new wave of flu cases could put more strain on resources. They encourage everyone to get the flu shot in addition to the COVID-19 vaccine. People who are hospitalized for COVID are highly likely to experience delirium. Researchers found 73% of hospitalized patients studied dealt with the condition. Delirious patients were also more likely to experience other conditions like high blood pressure and diabetes. Researchers say it's key to practice delirium reduction techniques on patients, like maintaining family communication and bringing in personal items from home. A dangerous social media trend is drawing a warning from experts. People are breathing in hydrogen peroxide through a nebulizer. A nebulizer is a medical device that turns liquid into a mist. People are doing it because they think it will treat or prevent COVID-19. The Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America says doing this is dangerous. It says to only nebulize medications that are prescribed by your doctor. Now it's time to get a check of weather with Miller. Miller, I had my pumpkin spice latte yesterday, but today is the first full day of fall.
Yes, and it's going to feel like it today, too. It's going to cool down a little bit today for the next couple of days, and then guess what?
Warm.
Right back up again. Yeah, crazy weather, yeah. So it's a beautiful start out there right now. Low surface smoke again today, so the air quality should be good. Great shot there, courtesy of the Stockman Bank Weather Cam. We're sitting at 60 at the airport right now. Humidity at 31%. Winds out of the north at about 5 miles an hour. Crunch some numbers. I love going inside the numbers. Yesterday, warmer than normal. We got up a good 12 degrees above average, right on target where we thought we would be. 83 with an overnight low getting down to about 50. It was a bit breezy yesterday. We'll continue to see the possibility of some breezy conditions today. A better chance as we get into Saturday where those winds may pick right back up again. No rain yesterday. We're right at close to an inch in the hole for the month, getting closer and closer. And for the year, we're right at 4 inches in the hole. So we got some ground to cover to catch up, but not looking too good over the course of the next few days as high pressure will continue to dominate and keep us dry. Temperatures right now mainly in the 50s. We've got some 40s, even some 60s as well. And you'll see a lot of 70s across the board today. Variable cloudiness. We'll see some clouds this morning, then some sunshine, then some clouds later today. But of course, we are going to stay dry. We'll have a complete look at your forecast straight ahead.
All right. I just feel like Mother Nature is trying to give me and you a break. We're going camping this weekend near Red Lodge. You're going to Yellowstone. So maybe the warmth will help us have a not as rough of an experience.
Maybe so. We'll see what happens. And if neither one of us shows back up on Monday, Tuesday next week,
the Bears
it's
ate
over.
us.
Yeah. My goodness.
All right, Miller. Thank you so much. I'll get back to news. Tourists are spending more time in Billings, and the proof is in the numbers. This is a look at lodging tax revenue in Yellowstone County. The county gets a share of the state's 4% tax on lodging based on the amount of money spent on hotel rooms. Revenue is up more than 150% from the summer of 2020 when most people were staying home. But the county also brought in almost $200,000 more than it did in 2019. And the additional funding is welcome news for hotel owners who expected low rates to last well beyond this year.
That includes me, that includes the people at Marriott, Hilton, the big boys. All of us missed that rates would come back. We typically, in a recession, hoteliers will drop rates, and they take 4 to 5 years to get back to normal.
The general manager of the Billings Hotel and Convention Center estimates 60% of their guests come from out of state. The National Farmers Union met with Senator John Tester to talk about a lack of competition in the beef market. Ranchers say big meat packers are controlling pricing, overcharging consumers, and pushing out the little guys. Just 4 companies control 85% of the beef packing industry in the U.S. Senator Tester is sponsoring a bill designed to address anti-competitive practices in the meat and poultry industries. And those with the Farmers Union are happy the problem is being addressed.
Consumers are being exploited by paying these inflated prices for beef at the same time that cattle producers are going broke because the market has been so depressed for so long.
Tyson Foods, one of the largest meat packers in the country, disputes those claims. They argue the increase in the price of beef is, quote, due to unprecedented market conditions. New this morning, a group of medical providers and patients are suing, hoping to overturn a Montana law that stops businesses from requiring their employees to be vaccinated. The lawsuit says this prevents medical providers from creating a safe environment for patients and staff, and therefore violates disability laws and the Constitution. The suit is only asking the law to be blocked for physician offices and hospitals. Another lawsuit is challenging Montana's newest election laws. This one from labor organizations and other groups is taking issue with the state ending same-day voter registration. The suit argues working people and those with disabilities are unfairly burdened with not being able to register on the same day they vote. Under the new law, voter registration closes at noon the day before an election. This lawsuit is the 4th challenge of the same-day registration law. There's controversy around a Montana hunting law which doubles the number of wolves a single person can harvest from 5 to 10. The law, signed by Governor Gianforte earlier this year, also allows the animals to be hunted at night and the use of spotlights. Some argue that goes too far and doesn't allow for fair chase. But experienced hunters say even with the relaxed regulations, wolves aren't that easy to track down.
Romanticism is just, man, I'm going to be a mountain man. People realize this is not easy. It's a very low success rate in a society where now, we want immediate gratification.
A spokesperson for Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks says they typically sell far more wolf tags than the number of animals that actually end up being harvested. So far this year, more than 7,000 wolf tags have been issued in Montana. And topping national headlines this morning in Florida, the search for Gabby Petito's fiance, Brian Laundrie, is still focused on a vast nature preserve. Teams have been scouring the swampy area since this weekend. A preliminary autopsy found Gabby's death in Wyoming to be a homicide. The Biden administration is facing pressure from all sides over the deteriorating situation at the U.S.-Mexico border. As the administration promises more deportation flights, Haitian migrants are also being released into the U.S. CBS's Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
Nearly 5,000 migrants are still camped out in Del Rio, Texas, and now Governor Greg Abbott has ordered a symbolic wall of state vehicles to stop more arrivals. On the ground, conditions in the camp are deteriorating, but the numbers are going down. More than 1,400 people have been deported on flights to Haiti since Sunday. Frustrated crowds tried to get back on this plane after landing in Port-au-Prince. Homeland Security has said anyone who arrives at the border will be turned away. But CBS News has learned the agency has also released more than 1,000 migrants into the U.S.
Many of the individuals whom we encounter claim asylum and have a right to have those asylum claims heard as our laws provide.
Buses are bringing migrants to processing centers where aid groups and attorneys are helping some of the Haitians who've been released.
Most of them, what they're asking them is to follow up with the ICE office within 60 days.
In Washington, the Biden administration facing growing criticism from Democrats who say the treatment of migrants is inhumane.
What the hell are we doing here? What we witness takes us back hundreds of years.
We understand and agree that this has been an incredibly heart-wrenching issue.
The AP reports this mass migration has been fueled by misinformation on social media. Posts spread online that the Biden administration was extending protection to Haitian migrants, but that policy applied only to Haitians who were already living in the U.S. before the end of July. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The Biden administration says it is working with Brazil and Chile to see if they will accept the return of Haitian migrants who recently lived in those countries. The FBI has doubled its domestic terrorism caseload since this past spring. It's now dealing with about 2,700 investigations. Because of this, the FBI also had to more than double its staff working on these cases. The large caseload mainly stems from the Capitol attack on January 6. Expect a busy day on Wall Street today. Two important economic reports are due out this morning. The new weekly unemployment report will show how many new and continued jobless claims came in last week. Last week's report showed a slight increase in claims from the previous week. The National Activity Index is also due out today. That shows overall economic activity and inflation pressures. Ida is expected to be one of the most expensive hurricanes in history. This comes as damage estimates from the storm continue to rise. Experts estimate insured losses from Ida to be between $31 and $44 billion. This would put Ida ahead of Hurricane Andrew. At the height of the pandemic, a business-savvy barber switched his business model into the great outdoors. CBS's Elise Preston introduces us to the New York City stylist who changed how he offers services, but also uses his talents to promote community service.
It's the buzz of clippers, not critters, that you'll hear in this section of New York City's Central Park.
I get to, do what I do best as an artist, and just shape, create and craft, people into these beautiful human beings they are.
Herman James, now known as the Central Park Barber,
And what about the top?
sets up shop in the scenic outdoors every day when weather permits. He started offering outside services during the height of the pandemic.
Nobody was interested or comfortable in being inside the shops. They were more for being outside where they can get fresh air and at less of a risk of catching COVID.
A year and a half later, he's gained hundreds of clients like Matt Concialdi, who skated past James one day and decided the cut his friend gave him did not make the cut.
How did your friend do, be honest?
Not so good. James offers complimentary haircuts.
I know a lot of people were financially impacted by the pandemic, and I didn't feel a need to charge them at all.
People give what they can, and it's a range from $1 to hundreds.
Somebody baked me a cake once and brought that over.
For James, it's not about the payment. It's the connection to people he says he values the most. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Thank you so much for starting your day with us here on Montana This Morning.